right? Darwin sitting at 28 degrees while Melbourne S already hit 32. That S, not a typo. Is your city about to cop a heat spike that'll flip the entire forecast on its head? Because what is developing across the continent right now has the Bureau of Meteorology tracking multiple systems affecting 6 states and territories with over 15 million Australians in the path of either extreme heat, severe storms or both. I'm going to break down exactly when this hits your area, what the models are showing for the next 72 hours, and why tomorrow's update is going to be crucial. But first, chuck your location in the comments right now and I'll get you a personalised forecast in tomorrow's video. Sydney, you are looking at 34 degrees today, climbing to 37 tomorrow. Then a southerly buster Friday afternoon drops you back to 26. Melbourne, 32 today. But here's the thing. You are going to 39 on Thursday with northerly winds ahead of that change. Brisbane, currently 31 with afternoon storms likely. Gold Coast, 32 with similar storm risk. Sunshine Coast sitting at 30 with humidity, making it feel closer to 35. Perth, you've got the Fremantle doctor working overtime, 29 today, 31 tomorrow, holding steady through the weekend. Adelaide, 36 today, 38 tomorrow, then a sharp drop to 28 Friday as that front moves through. Now, there is something developing in the Coral Sea that I need to talk about in detail around the 8-minute mark because the track uncertainty is significant and it changes everything for coastal Queensland. But let us sort out what is happening right now across the country. The current setup has a heat trough sitting across inland New South Wales and Queensland, dragging air straight up from the interior. That S why we're re-seeing these elevated temperatures. Access is showing this trough intensifying over the next 48 hours before a strong cold front sweeps across the southern states. The European model, though, reckons that front arrives about 12 hours earlier than Access suggests. This difference is pretty significant because it changes the timing of peak heat for Melbourne, Adelaide and parts of regional Victoria and South Australia. Let me get specific for regional areas. Newcastle, you're at 33 today, 35 tomorrow. Change arrives Friday evening. Wollongong, 31 currently, 34 Thursday. Cooler change Friday, Arvo. Coffs Harbour, 29 with increasing humidity. 31 tomorrow with storm potential ramping up. Now, for you lot in Wagga Wagga, you're recopping the worst of this heat. 41 today, could touch 43 tomorrow, then dropping to 32 Friday. Dubbo, similar story, 40 degrees today, 42 Thursday. Significant relief Friday. Victoria S regional centres are in for a rough trot. Geelong, 31 today, climbing to 38 tomorrow. That's pretty unusual for this time of year. Ballarat, normally you'd be sitting in the mid-20s, but you are going to 34 tomorrow. Bendigo, 36 today, 39 Thursday, dropping to 26 Friday. Shepparton, you are pushing into the low 40s tomorrow before that change. Queensland, let's talk about what is happening up north. Townsville, you're at 32 with 70% humidity, feels like closer to 38. Cairns, 31 degrees, afternoon storms developing. Some could be severe with heavy rainfall. Toowoomba, sitting at 28 currently, 30 tomorrow. Weekend looks settled. Now, the Gold Coast and Brisbane Metro, I mentioned the storm risk, but let me be more specific. Models are showing a surface trough interacting with upper-level instability between 2 and 6 p.m. Thursday. That's your window for potentially severe thunderstorms with large hail and damaging winds. If you haven't dropped your city in the comments yet, do it now. I genuinely want to make sure I cover your area in tomorrow's detailed breakdown, especially with these systems evolving. Western Australia, you are in a different pattern altogether. Bunbury, 27 degrees, light winds, beautiful conditions continuing. Geraldton, 30 degrees, sea breeze, keeping things comfortable. Kalgoorlie, you are inland, so you are feeling it more. 38 today, 40 tomorrow, no significant relief coming. Broome, typical for this time of year, 33 degrees with building humidity as we move deeper into the wet season. South Australia's regional areas need to pay attention to fire danger ratings. Mount Gambier, currently 28. You will hit 34 tomorrow with northerly winds. Then the change brings you back to 23 Friday. Whyalla, 39 today, 41 Thursday. These are total fire ban conditions. Extreme fire danger ratings are in place. Port Augusta, similar situation, 40 degrees today, could touch 42 tomorrow. Tasmania, you're getting pulled into this heat as well, which is noteworthy. Hobart, 26 today, climbing to 31 tomorrow. That is warm for Tassie. Launceston, 28 today, 33 Thursday. Cooler change Friday brings you to 22. Devonport, 27 currently, 30 tomorrow. Relief comes Friday afternoon. Northern Territory, Darwin, you are in the thick of the monsoon trough. 32 degrees with afternoon storms, some dumping 50 to 80 millimetres. Alice Springs, you are at 40 degrees, holding in the high 30s through the week. Typical summer pattern for the red centre. Catherine, 34 with storm activity. The big wet is delivering. Canberra, you are going to 38 tomorrow. That S hot for the nation, S capital. Northerly winds ahead of the change. Then Friday, you are back to 25. Now, here S where it gets interesting, and this is the one thing that S got me watching the models closely. That system I mentioned earlier in the Coral Sea, currently Access and GFS are showing it tracking south-southwest toward the southeast Queensland coast. But the European model has it further offshore. If Access is right, we are looking at heavy rainfall for coastal areas from about Bundaberg down to the New South Wales north coast, possibly 200 to 300 millimetres over the weekend. If the European model S-Track verifies most of that stays offshore, we'll have a better idea tomorrow morning once the latest runs come through. The pressure gradient between the inland heat trough and that coastal system is creating a setup for potentially damaging winds along the ranges. This affects places like the Scenic Rim, the border ranges, even inland areas like Warwick and Stanthorpe could see wind gusts exceeding 80 kilometres per hour if this intensifies as some models suggest. Hang on, let me clarify something about that cold front I mentioned earlier. When I say southerly buster for Sydney, I'm talking about that classic rapid wind change with temperature drops of 10 degrees or more in under an hour. It's forecast to hit the Sydney coast around 4 to 6 p.m. Friday afternoon. So if you've got outdoor plans Friday evening, factor that in. The change sweeps north through Newcastle by about 8 p.m, reaches Coffs by midnight. For Melbourne, this isn't a buster. It's more of a classic cold front passage. You'll see the wind swing from north to southwest, but the temperature drop is more gradual, happening overnight Thursday into Friday morning. Check back tomorrow because the timing on these systems is still being refined with each model run. The difference between the change arriving Thursday night versus Friday morning changes your entire day S planning. Let me talk compounding factors because this is where weather gets dangerous. In areas like Whyalla, Port Augusta and across the mid-north of South Australia, you've got extreme heat, low humidity and strong northerly winds. That combination creates catastrophic fire danger. If you in these areas, total fire ban is in effect, no exceptions. This is not the day for any outdoor burning, no machinery in long grass, extreme vigilance required. For southeast Queensland, if that Coral Sea system does track on shore, you are looking at heavy rain falling on already saturated catchments. The Mary River, Burnett River and parts of the Brisbane River system could see rapid rises. The Bureau S got a flood watch current for parts of Wide Bay and Burnett, and depending on how this system develops, that could extend south. Right, let's go through some more locations because I want to make sure I am covering the breadth of this system. Lord Howe Island, you are at 27 degrees, winds increasing Thursday as that low develops. Norfolk Island, 24 degrees, scattered showers, nothing too concerning. Back to the mainland, Broken Hill, you are at 41 degrees today, 43 tomorrow. Isolated afternoon storms possible but not enough to bring relief. Mildura, 40 degrees, similar pattern. Albury, Wodonga, 38 today, 40 tomorrow. Change arrives Friday morning. Across the top end, the monsoon trough is active but not exceptional. This is fairly typical wet season activity. What S not typical is how warm southern Australia is getting. Having Melbourne potentially hit 39 degrees this time of year, that S noteworthy. Now, I mentioned I did talk about that Coral Sea development in detail. Here is what we know. There is an area of low pressure that has been sitting northeast of New Caledonia for the past 48 hours. Sea surface temperatures in that region are sitting around 29 to 30 degrees, which is warm enough to support development. The steering currents are the key uncertainty. Access has been consistent, showing a southwest track, but the ensemble members show significant spread, meaning there is uncertainty in the exact path. The GFS aligned with Access until the latest run, which shifted slightly east, the European model S been offshore the whole time. For Brisbane, if the system comes onshore, you are looking at Friday through Sunday with periods of heavy rain and strong winds. Current thinking is 50 to 150 millimetres, but if it slows down or stalls, those numbers go up significantly. Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, same situation. The Tweed, northern rivers of New South Wales, you to be in the southern edge of this. Actually, I should be more specific about what heavy rain means in this context. We're talking rainfall rates that could hit 20 to 40 millimetres per hour during the heaviest bursts. That's enough to cause flash flooding in urban areas, particularly in Brisbane as western suburbs and areas with poor drainage. There's one location that could cop something unexpected, and that S, the northern tablelands of New South Wales. If that coastal system develops and interacts with the cold air behind the front moving through, places like Armidale, Glen Innes, Tenterfield could see thunderstorms with small hail. It's an unusual setup, but the models are hinting at it, bit of a mixed bag for the weekend across the southern states. Once that front clears, you'll be looking at beautiful conditions. Melbourne, Saturday 24 degrees, partly cloudy, Sunday 26 with increasing cloud. Sydney, Saturday 27, Sunday 28, just about perfect. Adelaide, Saturday 25, Sunday 27, light winds. Perth, you're very steady through the weekend, 29 to 31, sea breezes doing their thing. Hobart, your weekend S looking great after Friday S change, 20 to 22 degrees, partly cloudy, ideal conditions. Canberra, Saturday 26, Sunday 28, nice recovery after Thursday S heat. Now, Brisbane and southeast Queensland, your weekend depends entirely on that system S track. If it stays offshore, you are looking at scattered showers and 28 to 30 degrees. If it comes onshore, you are in for a wet weekend with temperatures in the mid-20s and persistent rain. Let me check that again because the latest access run just came through while I was prepping this. Yeah, it is shifted about 50 kilometres east compared to the previous run. That is good news for coastal areas, but it doesn't rule out impacts. We're still 72 hours out. These systems can wobble. The thing about tropical moisture is it doesn't take a cyclone or a named system to produce significant rainfall. Even a weak low-pressure system in the right position with the right moisture feed can dump 200 millimetres in 24 hours. That is what we're re-watching for. For fire danger, Thursday is the critical day across South Australia, Western Victoria and southern New South Wales. Extreme to catastrophic ratings in some districts. If you're in a bushfire-prone area, have your plan ready, know your trigger points, know your exit routes. This is serious. Yeah, look, I know this isn't ideal for those of you planning outdoor events Thursday, but it's better to know now and adjust plans than get caught out. The weekend outlook for most of the country is actually pretty decent once these systems move through, the exception being far north Queensland where the monsoon keeps things active, and potentially southeast Queensland if that coastal low does what some models suggest. Drop your location in the comments if you haven't yet. Tomorrow I'm going through specific suburbs and towns, and with the way these systems are evolving, there is going to be some important details for individual areas. One more thing about temperatures. When I say Melbourne S going to 39, with the humidity levels forecast, feels like temperature could be early 40s. That is dangerous heat territory. Stay hydrated, check on elderly neighbours, keep pets inside during peak heat, don't leave kids or animals in cars. This is the kind of heat that puts people in hospital. Darwin, your feels like temperatures with the humidity are sitting around 38 to 40 all week. That is just summer in the top end, but it doesn't make it easy. Stay in the air conditioning during the middle of the day if you can. The jet stream position is driving all of this. We've got a blocking high over the Tasman Sea, which is keeping things warm and stable in the east. Meanwhile, that trough digging down from the north is tapping into tropical moisture. When the cold front pushes through, it's going to create a sharp boundary between air masses and that S where we get the severe weather potential. Looking ahead to next week, early indications are we settle into a more typical summer pattern. A high-pressure ridge across the south, afternoon storms for the north and northeast, temperatures closer to average, but a lot can change, so check back tomorrow for the updated outlook. This forecast has already evolved significantly from 24 hours ago, and I reckon tomorrow is going to bring more changes as those models continue to refine the details. That's why I keep emphasising the importance of checking back daily during active weather patterns like this. For coastal waters, winds are going to be an issue. Small craft warning current for the Sydney coast Thursday into Friday, winds reaching 30 to 40 knots. Bass Strait, similar conditions, choppy seas, not ideal for crossing. Queensland waters, if that low develops, we're re-looking at hazardous conditions from Fraser Island south to the border. Beach conditions deteriorate Thursday and Friday for the east coast. Strong currents, large swells, dangerous rips. Not a good day for swimming unless you are at a patrolled beach. And even then, be cautious. The models are showing this week as a pretty good example of why you can tee. Just look at one model and call it done. Access, GFS and ECMWF are all showing different timing and intensity for these systems. As a general rule, I weight them equally, but look for consensus. Right now, there is consensus on the heat, consensus on the front, but divergence on that coastal system. That divergence should narrow over the next 24 hours. So here is what you need to remember. Thursday is the peak heat day for southern states. Extreme fire danger in parts of South Australia and Victoria. Severe storm risk for southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales. Coastal system developing with track still uncertain. Cold front brings relief Friday, but with strong winds and potential severe weather along the change. And weekend looks much better for most areas except possibly southeast Queensland. Tomorrow I'll have updated timing for all major centres, more detail on that coastal system S track, and I'll be going through your specific locations from the comments. The morning model runs should give us much better clarity on Friday S timing and that weekend system. I really appreciate you watching through this detailed breakdown. Weather like this requires attention to detail because small changes in timing or position make big differences to impacts. Make sure you're getting information from the Bureau of Meteorology as your official source. They've got the warnings and watches that matter for your safety. Tomorrow's video will be up by 9 a.m. Eastern Time, so check back then for the latest. Drop your city or town in the comments and I'll make sure to include it in tomorrow's coverage. The more specific you are, the better I can tailor the information. Stay safe out there, especially Thursday if you are in those extreme heat or fire danger areas. And if you are in coastal Queensland, keep an eye on the latest updates for that developing system. I'll see you tomorrow with